food delivery goes online. So I work since 15 years. I've been with Ocado, which is an English company. We sell food on the internet in England. So what do customers want? Well, they want home delivery. People who can get home delivery at a reasonable price will want it, quite a lot of them. They want a 1 hour slot, so you don't have to think. So you start by deciding when am I going to be home, and that's when you get it. They want a huge range. I'll talk more about that later. Range is very important for lots of reasons. Obviously, they want fantastic food, but that was so obvious that I didn't even put it on the slide, but they want the lowest price possible. They want the same price or lower than you get in a big box supermarket on the outside of town, but you want it home delivered wherever you live. That's kind of what people want. So what did we do? Well, build and they will come. Well, we did build, and they did come. And so we're a pure play grocery startup. We're 15 years old now. We're 12,000 people. We have 2,000 of those vans. We do about 20 billion Swedish of food deliveries. And that means we feed about 1.3 million people every week out of essentially 2 buildings like that. We actually have a third building now that is ramping up, and we're building a fourth building. But we're feeding 600,000 people out of each of those 2 buildings that we have ramped up already. We call that 200,000 orders a week for a big grocery order. So the bricks and mortar people, they have responded in England, which means that they try to do it their way, which was more expensive for them, but we don't really care. But it means that 8% of all food in the UK right now is home delivered. And in some London areas, it's 30%, and it's still growing fast. And in fact, it's growing faster where we already are the biggest. So in the areas of London where we have 30% penetration, that's where we have the fastest growth on a year-by-year basis. So people want food home delivery. How do you make it work then? How can you combine these things? Well, you make it big and you make it mechanized. So you can see this woman here, she's picking from a small range of items in a mechanized warehouse that kind of looks like this if you play it a little bit bigger. So this is simulation or visualization we built for that kind of warehouse. And it's kind of big, as you will soon see. That's how big it is. It's about 30 kilometers of conveyor, where we pass about 8,000 of those boxes an hour through it, and that's what feeds 600,000 people. And then we're pretty fast as well, so we build automation so we can pick faster and faster and faster. So this woman here is picking about 1,000 items an hour from a range of many thousand items in front of her. But to conquer the world, we needed to innovate further. So we have a problem, that is that we have a huge range. We have 100,000 different products. And that's actually in the context of food innovation is great, because that means that we can actually accept innovative products that sell in very small quantities and still put them inside our range, which in a normal supermarket is very, very hard, because there are hundreds of stores and you have to get everything to every store. We only have one place, you just have to ship it to us. We can have 100,000 different items. We have a large basket, we have about 50 items in every basket, which makes our problem very different from any other e-commerce technology, to combine this big range in the big basket with also very large volume. So we want to pick in each of our warehouses 120,000 items an hour. And why is that important to us? Well, by being that big, we can go straight from the farmer to us, to the customer. So we can cut down the supply chain, which cuts out a lot of waste, it cuts out a lot of money, it cuts out a lot of energy. And also we need this high productivity. We need to be able to pick at least 600 to 800 items an hour, otherwise it would become too expensive. So in order to do that, we came up with this invention, which is, well, it's actually a Norwegian invention that we saw and improved. But we made it a little bit better and faster. And it's essentially a bunch of bins stacked on top of each other, and then a machine on top of that that can move in both ways and pick up things into its belly. And how can that work? Well, we made it a little bit bigger. So this is a warehouse we have southwest of London, where we have a few hundred of these little robots, and we have about 300,000 bins underneath. And underneath, we also have the people standing picking. And that's pretty cool. And it actually works. And we're building a bigger one, though. This one is in a place called Greenwich in the southeast of London. It's 50,000 square meters. It's built. It's under installation right now. And when it's all done, it's going to look like this. There will be 800,000 bins, and there will be 4,000 of these little robots that will fetch things to the pick station and put it back from the pick station and put it all basically loaded up in the vans. And it's amazingly cheap, which is the fantastic bit of it. So we can actually do this much cheaper than normal grocery stores and actually give you that home delivery for less money than you can buy the money in the big box grocery store at the outside of town. And of course, we haven't stopped there. So in the future, it's going to be robotics. So we can do this without so many people picking as well. We hadn't put a lot of effort on this, but then this thing called Brexit happened, and then it turned out that all our labor has to go home. So we have to find some other labor, basically, because almost all our labor was from Eastern Europe. So we just have to spend much more time on robotics right now. And then, of course, last mile delivery. So here is another friend of mine. To getting that last mile delivery is always also going to be a bit tricky. We can't just have lots of people driving around in diesel vans delivering. In fact, even with the diesel vans, we have a smaller carbon footprint than a normal store system because we don't have the stores, and they're quite energy intensive. But this little guy from Switzerland can then make a delivery for almost no energy as well to the customer. And then just sit outside and call your phone, and you just have to come out and get your groceries. So that's kind of part of what the future is. The next challenge we have is to take these pieces. We have the home delivery, the convenience of the 1 hour slot, the very big range, and the lowest price. But we also want to do it in a 1 hour from order to delivery, so that for those of you who can't really plan your lives, you should still be able to order your food at lunchtime and have it by the time you get home, basically, or so. That's what we're working on. We're working on a lot of other things as well. And since I have a little bit of time to spare, actually, perhaps not, but we also look at using this technology so we can actually, inside our big warehouses, we could actually grow the food. We could have one of those finished growth machines so we can grow the protein, and then we can have a chef there that makes wonderful cakes out of it or whatever it might be. But we can also grow green stuff inside the warehouses in the future, so that some of the stuff that you eat can be really, really fresh. Of course, what I didn't say is we also offer this ultimate freshness. So anything with a date life of less than 1 week, we will deliver to the customer within a day and a half from when it left the farm. So or the production facility, whatever it might be. So basically, it should be in your kitchen much sooner than it would normally be unpacked in the store, and with the sort of ultimate freshness. So that's kind of me. I'll be in a couple of panels. We can talk a bit more about that later, but I'll be around, or you can Google me, or you can find me, sverkerlindbo@ocado.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Sverker. This is always as fascinating when I see that Star Trek animation of your things moving around. One of the more fun parts here is, of course, the great assortment. So 100,000 items in a store. Do you have 100,000 today, or is that the capacity?
We have about 50,000 food items and 50,000 other items.
Okay.
So that kind of, yes. But we have no real limit.
Okay, so if I would come to you with a great new food product, perhaps protein from carbon dioxide, you would store that?
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have to convince you.
No?
No, you'd say, yeah, I'll store that for you.
Well, yes.
Well, customers will
There's always a little bit of it, but it's much, much cheaper than when anyone. And in fact, we've used it so that if anyone has any friends who live in London, you will know that you can get Swedish food in London from us. So we have this Swedish range, so you can have Kalles Kaviar and Herrgårdsost and Greveost and all sorts of weird pepparkakor and everything that you can't buy in a normal English store, you can buy from us. But we also then do, of course, Korean, South African, Australian, Mexican, whatever, for all the foreigners who live in London and all the English people who like foreign food.
Interesting. And the obvious question then, what separates you from Amazon?
Well, we do food. They don't really. They try to do food, but they don't really know how to do it. We've been focusing on food for 15 years, and we're pretty good at it.
Okay. So will you come to Sweden soon?
No comment.
No comment. Okay. No comment. Okay. Thank you very much, Sverker. We will hear more from you later on.